Oh, can't you see? We're running out of time. You gotta lose your mind if you think you're doing fine. You can't describe me yet, but something's wrong. Where are your dreams now, and why don't you feel strong? Yeah, yeah. Every day, every night you try to find yourself. Don't live your life as someone else.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of the podcast. That's right. We're back. Hope you guys enjoyed the last episode, or the first one back at least. Let me just pause that for a second. Yes. Hope you guys are well. Thank you for tuning in again. Yeah, what did we discuss last time? Oh, yes, the EPW show. I got into a little bit of a rant and everything. Today's show, we're going to talk SummerSlam, as in 1991. Ladies and gents, we're going to talk WWE SummerSlam. I've watched the show back, and I've got the show up on the Wikipedia here. So, yeah, what has it been discussed since I last saw you? Oh, yeah. Not much has been discussed. Not going to say it, but I've seen some like other podcasts as well. Max Wrestling going into video form, so all the best with you guys on that one as well. And just AEW killing it really in respects of wrestling and where wrestling is at the moment as well. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing's crazy at the end of the day, but hey, it is what it is, man. I mean, wrestling is wrestling at the moment. I will like to discuss one thing. I want to know where Impact Wrestling are playing at. Because since I last saw you, I recorded the January 3rd episode right before Christmas. I haven't had time to record more episodes after this, so I'm recording this now on Saturday the 8th of January, and you'll get this on the 10th. So, yeah. But I got word this week, as of before this recording, that Matt Striker is no longer with Impact Wrestling. Now, also I found out that Mickie James is heading to the Royal Rumble. Is going to be into the Royal Rumble match, even though she's Knockouts champion. And as of this taping right now, tonight, she defends the women's title against Deonna, the former champion, at Hard to Kill, which is the Impact Wrestling show. So, does that tell me she's going to go into, she's leaving, or she's dropping the title tonight to Deonna, and then going to the Rumble as well? I mean, what's going on? Or is this forbidden door opened in WWE? And now is WWE working with Impact Wrestling like they did with AEW? And maybe that's the reason why AEW and Impact Wrestling have split, so Impact Wrestling can work with WWE. Where is going? I don't know. Like I said, it is all very confusing, but I guess we'll find that out in the coming weeks. But yeah, why have they let Matt Striker go is a mystery to me. I don't know why they've let him go. I'd like to know why they've let him go, because he was actually pretty good as the announcer, him and D'Lo Brown. Yeah, it's pretty interesting in that respect, but I don't know who they're going to get to replace him. I'm guessing it's going to be Josh Matthews again. I don't know. I don't know who's going to take over. I have an idea who it could be, but because there was talk about him, I think he did one show for them as well. So, like I say, I don't know. I really don't know where it's going with that, but like I said, I guess we'll find out very, very soon. So yeah, that's probably the only thing I want to talk about in that respects. So yeah, let's get right into it. Now, I got asked on this on Facebook to do this episode and to do this show or review this show. So I watched it back, and this was my childhood show, quite frankly, because when I say childhood show, I'm talking about this was the show that I watched. This was the very first show, the very first pay-per-view ever. Excuse me. This was the very first WWE pay-per-view, but it was mainly the first pay-per-view in general that I ever saw. SummerSlam 1991, headlined by Match Made in Heaven, which was Macho Man and what they call it, Macho Man and Elizabeth getting married or remarried again, and the Match Made in Hell, which was Warrior Hogan versus Colonel Mustafa, aka the Iron Sheik, General Adnan, and Sergeant Slaughter, with Sid Justice as the referee. So yeah, you gotta love it. So yeah, Lord Halford Hayes was the interviewers. Howard Finkel was the announcer. Gene Okerlund, Sean Mooney, Roddy Piper, and Heenan and Monsoon were the commentators. Joey Morella, Earl Hebner, Danny Davis, and Sid Justice were the referees, because he was a special guest referee. And yeah, it just was what it was. Now, I did not know this match. I'm going through this with Wikipedia, but I did not know this match. Koko B Ware defeated Kato. I'm guessing it was Kato from the Orient Express. I did not see that. That was probably on the dark match or the pre-show, if they had a pre-show. I don't remember it, because I just watched the pay-per-view from the first match, which was Bulldog, Dragon, Texas Tornado versus Power and Glory and the Warlord. From that moment on, basically, so I didn't see that one. Speaking of the six-man tag, it did kick off, the pay-per-view card itself did kick off with Bulldog, the Dragon, and Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, taking on Power and Glory, Hercules and Paul Roma. The Horseman member, Paul Roma, by the way, pretty Paul Roma, and the Warlord, managed by Slick. And these three were pretty much a group anyway, because Slick was managing them both. So, you know, pretty much a established group. But yeah, they had Bulldog, Dragon, and Ricky Steamboat, and Texas Tornado. I think this was the Dragon's second stint in WWE. And because the first time he was there, he won the Intercontinental title from Macho Man, and left because he wanted to spend time with his missus, and then ended up going back to the NWA, and eventually came back. I don't know what caused him to leave the NWA for the second time, or WCW for the second time. I don't know what caused him to leave that, but whatever. So yeah, he came back, and I think this match was, I would probably think, and this is just me, if I remember this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, I would probably think Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship, Virgil DiBiase, Mountie Big Boss Man, Legion of Doom Nasty Boys, and the Match Made in Heaven and the Match Made in Hell were all promoted properly, and they were the matches that this show was built around, if you can call the Match Made in Heaven a match. They were the things that this show was built around. IRS, which we'll get to later when he wrestled Greg Valentine. The Natural Disasters versus Luke and Butch. And this match, the six-man tag, will, I guess, fill up matches. You know, oh, we've got all these matches on the card. We promoted all these matches. Let's add these ones just to fill in. Because this match lasted, although this match did well, it lasted over 10 minutes, about 10 minutes 43. The Natural Disasters lasted 6 minutes 27, and IRS and Greg Valentine had 7 minutes, 7 minutes 7 seconds. So pretty much. So yeah, that was pretty much the whole thing in that respects. But yeah, that's the way I see it anyway. But anyway, I loved the six-man tag. The six-man tag was great. The heels dominated the match mostly, from what I remember. And then obviously the baby faces come in and get their attack and everything, get the comeback, and Dragon pinned, I believe it was Roma or Hercules. It was one of them. I believe it was Hercules. He did the crossbody off the top, which was the finishing move, and won the match for the team as well. Like I said, it was a fill-in match, but it did well for time because the dark match with Koko B Ware lasted 6 minutes 3 seconds, and the other one lasted 10 minutes 43. The first official match of the pay-per-view lasted that. So yeah, Bulldog, Dragon, Ricky Steamboat, and Kerry Von Erich, Texas Tornado won the match. Bret, Mr. Perfect, probably my favourite match, and the match of the night. Don't give a fuck what anyone says. The match of the night. Wrestling personified, ladies and gentlemen, in this match. They went close to 20 minutes, about 18 minutes 4 seconds, and it was just wrestling from start to finish. Yes, there were spots in the match where the coach got involved as well, which was the guy who replaced Bobby Heenan because Bobby went to commentary. And yeah, it was mostly through that as well. And then Bret was on the floor. Perfect had him. He was stomping him, and I think he went to do a leg drop between the groin area, and then Bret caught him and turned it into a sharpshooter and won the match and became the Intercontinental Champion. But everybody knows the backstory for this match as well. Everybody knows the backstory because Perfect came in this match with a back injury, and if you watch the Bret Hart DVD, he explains it on the DVD because he came into the match with a back injury, but he wanted to be there for him. He wanted to drop the title for him. He wanted to have the match with him and whatever. And they did, and they had a classic match, and it was probably one of my favourite matches. And the match, in a way, still gets talked about to this very day. And by the way, that match with Koko B Ware and Kato was a dark match. It's just, I've just seen it down there. But anyway. But yeah, the match was the classic. It was just a classic, and it's one of many great matches that them two had, because they had a couple more as well, even the one at King of the Ring as well in '93, and it was just perfect to watch. And Bret even said it himself, wrestling Mr. Perfect was like putting on a pair of gloves because they were so good. The natural disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon taking on the Bushwhackers. Pretty much a yarn match. It was just basically the natural disasters. You know, Luke and Butch tried their best, but the disasters dominated the match, won the match with the Earthquake splash and everything. And then they had beef with André the Giant in this match because they attacked André on the Superstars of Wrestling show. They had beef with him, and he was outside managing the Bushwhackers, or in the corner of the Bushwhackers, and they went out to try and attack him. Both of them, and even Jimmy Hart was directing traffic as well, because they went out to try and attack him, and he had a crutch on standby ready to whack them with it. But as that happened, and as the disasters took a couple of steps forward, LOD popped out and blocked it off and got into business and everything. But I think that particular angle right there, that particular spot, set up the match that them two teams eventually had, and I'm talking the natural disasters and Earthquake and Typhoon and the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. That set up the match for the Royal Rumble they had, because they had the Royal Rumble match for the World Tag Team titles at that point as well. That pretty much set it all up, and yeah, it was what it was, ladies and gentlemen. It was what it was. But yeah, it was pretty much that was pretty much a fill-in match for me. And like I say, it only lasted about 6.5 minutes. So, and yeah, Bushwhackers, God bless him, but they didn't have a sniff against the natural disasters. Virgil and DiBiase, $1 million title for the $1 million championship belt. That famous belt that DiBiase always carried around with him and everything. And credit to Virgil, he did well in this match. This match was built off the Royal Rumble 91 angle, when Virgil turned on him after being his bodyguard and got sick of him demanding this and demanding that and everything, and then whacked him with the belt. and got the victory out of it as well. And yeah, Virgil got the victory with a bit of backfiring from DiBiase's perspective, ladies and gentlemen. It was a bit of backfiring from DiBiase's perspective because he undone the turnbuckle, and then it was him that got, and he went to throw Virgil into it, and then Virgil countered it, and then he took the turnbuckle, and then Virgil crawled over for the pin and got the 1, 2, 3. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, this was kind of a waste of time for me. Because, yeah, okay, it was good. Virgil wins the belt, wins the $1 million title. But where's the history of it? Or is there a history of it? Because DiBiase brought the belt into fruition at Superstars of Wrestling, and it wasn't like a belt. It was just a belt that he made up, probably to make up for the fact that he couldn't buy the WWF title. And in August 26, 91 at SummerSlam in New York, he lost it to Virgil. And then in November 11th on Survivor Series Showdown, which was about a week or so away from, or right before Survivor Series, DiBiase got it back, which, in a way, I mean, Virgil held the belt for 77 days, and then DiBiase got it back, and then February 7th, 1992, it got deactivated because I think, I don't know what happened with DiBiase, to be honest with you, but it got reactivated again because Steve Austin won it, and then when DiBiase left for WCW in 96, that's when it was deactivated because DiBiase walked away and went to WCW. To be Trillionaire Ted, the NWO, and it's still kicking about to this very day. And I'll tell you this right now: 4 times that belt's been deactivated. That belt been reincarnated more times than anything else. So it is what it is at the end of the day, whatever. But yeah, he lost the belt on November 11th, 1991, right before Survivor Series. To be honest with you, I thought they should have had a longer run with it. I would have built a story up to them two at WrestleMania, which probably would have been cool. But WrestleMania 8, DiBiase and IRS were the World Tag Team Champions. But it was a good match nonetheless. Yes, they kicked out Sherry as well, and during that, because Sensational Sherry was DiBiase's manager and that, and Virgil won it. And that was the culmination of him breaking away from DiBiase as the bodyguard. Probably a funny match. The Mountie, Jacques Rougeau, with Jimmy Hart in his corner, one-on-one with Big Boss Man in a jailhouse match. And Boss Man won it. And the funny thing about this is karma works in mysterious ways, ladies and gentlemen. And karma bit the Mountie right in the backside in this matchup. Because the Mountie, before the match, there was a backstage interview with him rollicking pretty much the crew, the coppers and everything, and telling them what he wanted them to do when when it was done and everything like that, and what he wanted them to do when he beat the Boss Man and everything and that, and then Boss Man ends up beating him. It was a good match. 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes past this lasted. It was a good match for what it was, and then Boss Man beats him with the Boss Man spine buster, I believe it was, and knocked the wind out of him and got the victory. Jimmy Hart comes in, Boss Man chases him, and then what Mountie wanted the coppers to do to the Boss Man said, "We'll do it to you instead," and came out, dragged him towards the apron, the ring apron, held his hands on the apron, and waved the coppers out. The police out, the New York police out, and they cuffed him and dragged him back to the van and took him down, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And then we got to see some skits with the Mountie in jail and everything like that as it all went along, which was funny as hell. You have to go and watch them. You have to go and watch the show just to see that match and just to see them segments, man, because they were funny. They were. And he spent one night in jail. Probably a highlight of besides the perfect Bret Hart match as well, another highlight for me, Legion of Doom winning the World Tag Team titles in a street fight with the Nasty Boys. Just a brawl, really. It was just a brawl from start to finish, and the Legion of Doom finally did what they wanted to do when they first came into the WWF, and that was win the World Tag Team titles, and they did it. And they hit Jerry Sachs with Doomsday Device and got the victory and became the World Tag Team Champions. And when did they hold the belts to? That's interesting. When did they hold the belts to? Does it tell you? No. External links. When did they hold the belts to? When did they hold the belts to? Because in the 90s, yeah, the Legion of Doom, and they lost it to Money Inc. That was, they lost the belts to Money Inc. They dropped the titles to Money Inc. Which was probably right after the Royal Rumble. Somewhere in there, because Money Incorporated, because Legion of Doom were at WrestleMania, but in a interview capacity, because they went and got Paul Ellering back, and the Natural Disasters wrestled Money Inc. for the World Tag Team titles at WrestleMania. So, but yeah, it was a pretty cool moment to see them get the belts. Very cool moment, good childhood moment as well, and good to see them get the belts and become the champions. The match after that, didn't really care about it. It was just a one-on-one match. Like I say, it was a time filler in my opinion. IRS beats Greg Valentine. Nothing special in that match. They just wrestled for 7 minutes and IRS got the victory, pretty much. I think Valentine at this point was a jobber, which didn't sit well with him, quite frankly, from what I've heard. And he ended up going back to WCW, eventually leaving the company. Now for the match made in hell, which was Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, versus Colonel Mustafa, Iron Sheik, General Adnan, and Sergeant Slaughter, with Sid Justice as the referee. And also, this was the night that Warrior got fired. The match was what it was. All this build up for whose side is Vicious, is Sid Justice on, or Sid Vicious, whatever you want to call him. And yeah, it was what it was, ladies and gents. It was just a regular handicap match and everything. And Hogan and Warrior got the victory eventually, even though Warrior wasn't out there. But they got the victory. The finish was Warrior getting, I believe, General Adnan and Colonel Mustafa. He gets a chair and chases them out of the ring, all the way back to the locker room. And as that was happening, the minute he got back into the locker room or in the dressing room area, Vince McMahon was waiting for him and fired him, because right before this match, Ultimate Warrior held up Vince McMahon for money. And it's well documented. If you go back and watch the the documentaries and whatnot, it's well documented that Vince McMahon fired him, even though he brought him back at WrestleMania. But that was the night he fired him and walked and let him know. And apparently, Warrior sent him an email letter, and then Vince sent him one back telling him that he had his head up his own ass, pretty much, and he was developing an ego when saying that he thought he was bigger than Hogan, and Vince told him straight, pretty much, as well. Like I say, go back and watch all the documentaries about it and everything. There has been documentaries about it, and, you know, it is what it is, pretty much. So, yeah, that one. And then after that was the match made in heaven, which was Savage and Elizabeth, which you don't get to see unless you saw the Coliseum video, because it was an extra, if I remember correctly, on the Coliseum video. I don't know if they put it on any of the DVD versions, but after the wedding and everything on the Coliseum video, it led to the wedding reception. You know, everybody was there, the wedding reception, Coliseum video, blah, blah, blah. It was all there. And it was pretty cool to see. And then the party got ruined because when Elizabeth opened one of the presents, there was a snake inside. And that led to Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker interfering and wrecking the joint. And then Sid Justice came in and chased them away as well, which led to a little bit of a feud between them three as well. And Macho Man too, even though you couldn't do that much about it. But that was what started the whole feud with Jake the Snake Roberts and Macho Man Randy Savage. Because at the time as well, before the whole incident with the Ultimate Warrior, at the time it was Warrior and Jake the Snake Roberts were in a money-making feud. And then Vince fired him, fired the Warrior, and then you can all know what happened after that. And where do you go from that, basically? And now Snake went from a potential money-making feud with the Ultimate Warrior to a feud with Macho Man. So, you know, A didn't work. Where do you go? Plan B. So pretty much. So, but it is what it is. It was what it was. But all in all, very good memories of this pay-per-view, SummerSlam 1991. Remember sitting at my Aunt Nana's house growing up with my brother and everything. We were cheering on Bret and everything because we were both Bret fans, because we know Bret was just great. And yeah, it was just a great pay-per-view and not a bad first ever pay-per-view for me to watch and everything. And I'll give it an 8.59 out of 10 because it was great. There was some daft bits here and there, but it was great. And it was great to watch and great to know as well. Great matches, just a great show overall as well. And then the next pay-per-view after that was Survivor Series 1991 as well. And you all know what happened in that one. So, yeah, good, very good pay-per-view. And that's why SummerSlam is now the biggest party of the summer as well. So, yeah, that about wraps that up. And like I said, just a great show, great pay-per-view. But thank you all so very much for tuning in. I'm going to wrap it up here because I've got nothing else to talk about, quite frankly. That's all I wanted to do on this episode. Next week, I'm going to go, at least try and go, into an in-depth discussion about how aces and eights went to shit. At least from my perspective, at least. Because I saw a question on internet one time of, you know, what happened with aces and eights? Were aces and eights a good thing? What happened with them and whatever. So I will talk about aces and eights next week, along with some other stuff as well here and there. So yeah, I will talk about aces and eights next week and what happened with them, and I'll go through it as best I can in depth next week as well. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I will see you back here next week for the aces and eights thing as well. Hopefully I'll have some more things to discuss as well next week as well. But there hasn't really been that much. I already talked about one certain thing at the beginning of the broadcast, which was what they call it, Matt Striker leaving Impact Wrestling. So there hasn't been that much. But we'll see next week. Like I say, it's always a thing in there. And this is recording. Like I say, the first shows of this new era are going to be recorded just so I can get back into the thick of things, and then we can get some interviews going as well and do all that fun stuff as well. But like I say, it has been a while. The last time I did this podcasting and stuff and like that was about 3-4 years ago, before January 3rd. So like I say, I'm just incorporating myself back in and everything like that. So it's going to be entertaining, and I'm promising you that it's not going to be boring and dull and bland or anything like that. It's going to be entertaining. So, but like I say, all I can do is my best. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this SummerSlam retrospective, SummerSlam 91 retrospective, and I'll see you next time for another installment of the podcast, Aces and Eights. Basically the rise and fall of Aces and Eights, which is next week. So hope to see you then. Take it easy, and I'll see you all next week. Peace.
Can't you see we're running